All right, thanks for your patience. People are tuning in. We had a few microphone problems. We just got those sorted out. So welcome to the June 24th board meeting of the Comox Valley Regional District Board. And as always, I want to begin by acknowledging that we're doing our work today here on the unceded traditional territories of the Comox First Nation. And as is our practice, we are going through the calls to action. This is call to action number 74, missing children and burial information. We call upon the federal government to work with the churches and Aboriginal community leaders to inform the families of children who died at residential schools of the child's burial location and to and respond to families' wishes for appropriate commemoration ceremonies and markers and reburial in home communities where requested. Sorry, it's an emotional provision. We'll move to the adoption of minutes from the June 10th CVRD meeting. If someone like any questions on that? Anyone opposed? And that carries. And then we have petitions and delegations. And I see the delegation from the Denman Community Housing Society. I don't know if staff have any introduction, but otherwise we'll welcome you to the microphone. Thanks for coming over to see us.
Hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces here. Thank you for having us. So my name is Pam, this is Dave, and we're from the Denman Community Housing Society. I'm the chair and Dave is the vice chair. And we have a project called Denman Green that we've been working on for quite a number of years. We will be applying to the BC Housing Community Housing Fund call, which closes at the end of July. And this will be it's our fourth application for funding. So we just keep at it. So you can see the first slide is you can see the site of Denman Green. It's located, right in the village center, close to all of our amenities, including our little red free bus. A school is there. There's shops. There's recreation within walking distance to the ferry, daycare, everything. So that's where and we own, the society owns that site. So with the second slide, this is we are design complete. We are shovel ready. We have modified our project to bring the costs down a bit in our meetings with BC Housing, who've been good to work with. One of the things they said, they've got to bring your costs down a bit. So we've been working with our professional teams. So the architects, the engineers, our construction manager, to do what we can to reduce the costs. And Dave is going to talk about, the actual costs and the challenges that we have being a rural community, an island community at that, where everything costs far more than any of us want it to. But you can see we used to have 3 buildings. We now have 2 buildings, still 20 units. The third building is that outlined shape at the top of the screen, and we're hoping that at some point in the future we'll be able to put a shared amenity space there. So we took away the community space that was part of this. We eliminated rainwater collection and we eliminated the solar panels. All our permits are in place and we're ready to go. We just need the funding. So this is affordable housing. We've got 10 one-bedroom units, 6 two-bedroom units, and 4 three-bedroom units. So this is designed to provide housing, good quality housing for a cross-section of our community that includes, seniors and families. I know a couple of people who are living with disabilities are interested in living there. We've got, moms, single parent families, who will occupy this space. There will be no problem at all having 100% occupancy in this building because this is 20 units, and we know that the need at this point in time is for 80 units of affordable housing on Denman Island. And so this is the BC Housing Affordability Formula. Some of you will be familiar with this, with the 20% deep subsidy that's really linked to the income assistance rates, 50% rent geared to income. So those two make this 70% quite affordable. The final 30% will be at market. I don't even think it's near market. I think that the provincial government will insist on market. And BC Housing has built that into the formula so that you're getting like whatever full rent would be, for our community. It all helps to pay the mortgage. We have to pay a mortgage, of course. So we've got 4 accessible one-bedroom units designed for seniors in particular in this mix. So as I said, we've applied several times for capital funding. The next one is this BC Housing call at the end of July, and then apparently there's going to be a rolling call, so they're hoping that there'll be up to 4 intakes. There's a lot of priority communities. All of them are urban areas, and that has been our challenge, is that we, a small rural island community, we're constantly competing with the larger urban areas. And, you can't even compare. There's no comparison between Denman Island and Nanaimo, for example. So the primary evaluation criteria is it's the cost per square foot, or per unit or per door, as they say. And again, that challenge between rural and urban costs. You can stop me at any time if you have a question. Okay. Now for this particular call, we've brought on the Lookout Housing and Health Society, and they are an organization, a nonprofit organization based out of the Lower Mainland with a lot of experience in building and operating social housing, community housing. So 90 sites in 23 municipalities. We brought them on because aside from a couple of us on the team, who have experience with building and operating this kind of housing. We don't, as a group, as a board, we don't have that experience. And that is something that funders are looking for. They want some solid experience. We do have one project that we've had for many years, and it's a single family home on a piece of donated land on the island. We've been operating for 12 years at this point. And we have the perfect tenant. There are no issues. There's not likely to ever be any issues. So Lookout, they're operating the new Powell Horizons residence, 114 units in Vancouver, also funded through BC Housing. They've got a project on Bowen Island, a partnership with the Bowen Island Community Housing Association. And so they are our partner in this. We are the proponent, but they will be the operator if we are successful. And some of you may be familiar with Lookout because they are the operator of the Junction right here in Courtenay, and they have a similar project in Campbell River. So Dave, you get to do all the difficult stuff.
I just wanted to point out that you get 10 minutes total for the presentation, so then that's the clock there.
All right, we'll have to be quick. So I'm talking about costs most specifically. The project construction budget was developed by NAPIT Projects Inc. And there's a breakdown there on the right. So we're looking at funding needs in the sort of 14.5 million range. But as Pam alluded to, our big obstacle is the rural cost question. Well and storage and water treatment is something that costs us a lot of money on a rural setting on the island. Firefighting, we need to store water for that. Wastewater treatment. All of those are pretty significant costs that a urban project just doesn't need to incur. We're also a smaller project because we're on an island. So we lack the economies of scale. You know, Pam talked about a 114 unit project. This is a lot smaller than that, so we're not going to get the economies of scale. And then just the incremental cost for travel to and from the island with people and supplies is additional cost. So the rural cost, you know, water and wastewater costs all by themselves adds up to about 1.2 million. Our construction matter estimates that about another 200,000 is a premium just associated with the island project travel and so on. And I haven't even included any kind of estimate for economies of scale. That's a difficult thing to estimate, but it is a reality. As there's additional operating costs, you know, there's a lot more maintenance associated with the rural water and wastewater systems than there would be here in the city. So this is sort of the meat of our ask of you guys. All we're really trying to accomplish is to level the playing field with urban projects. And our value that we place on that is an incremental cost of about 1.4 million. And more than the 1.4 million, we think that a contribution from CVRD really indicates the significant partnership that we've already had. And it really just strengthens our application to have you guys as part of our team, really. And just as an example, I think you guys are probably aware of this, but CRD have agreed to contribute for a very similar project, a significant amount of money, over 3.4 million. And that's where I'll leave it.
Well, you timed it perfectly. Thank you.
I was watching the clock.
And now there's like as much time as necessary for questions from the board. Just looking around to see if Director Hillian, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks very much. Nice to see you, Pam. I'm just curious, how much are you asking for from BC Housing, and how much are you actually looking to borrow as an organization to finance the project?
Well, they have an amount that they will provide as a forgivable loan, so basically a grant. And I think that number right now is 171,000 per unit. So you can do the math times 20. That's what they contribute as a grant. And then we have an amount that we're contributing, including the land. And then if we had the 1.4 million, then add all that together, and I think the mortgage will be somewhere in the 5 to 6 million range.
Thanks. Best of luck with it.
Director Brown?
Thanks for the presentation and the slides. It's really informative. It looks like a great project. I agree, it is very hard to get small projects funded. Cumberland's on our third round application and have just increased the number of units to try and get some traction with BC Housing. So I'm trying to figure out what the bits of funding that we might be able to help with. And you're saying that there, as I understand, there's a 1.2 million for water and wastewater and another 197 related to travel. Is that what you're hoping to get out of the CVRD? That's the 1.4?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think, you know, as I mentioned, we were on that slide, we're really just trying to level that playing field so that we can be compared with a similar urban project.
All right, I'll take it to Director Arbor then.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So I guess I'll start with my question, but then make a couple of comments before you answer it. So with the application being due in July, I would appreciate if you were, it's unlikely that we would make this kind of commitment by the end of July. It's well outside our financial planning processes and things like that, but I'm just wondering whether there's something we can do for July as a board for you guys, whether it's a letter of support or something like that. Then I'll go back to the amount. And I think the board has heard me before talk about the bar that keeps changing, because we got 26 units on Hornby with a 2019 contribution of 100 grand. And BC Housing was thrilled that we used 100 grand into the project. And now they're asking for more and more, you know, the expectation, because it's so competitive, is just the bar just keeps getting raised. And I think it's extremely unfair to communities. And I hope that BC Housing is watching us right now on YouTube and, you know, hearing those comments. And for the board, I think, you know, this is, I agree with Dr. Brown, and you know, it's a great project. It's, I would love, I don't know if staff has done any kind of analysis around such an ask, but I'm wondering, actually, I'll let you answer the first question because it might help how deep we go into the financial discussion. So is there what would be your expectation by the time your application is submitted?
Well, unfortunately, the only thing that's going to be meaningful to BC Housing and considering our application is some sort of a letter of intent, you know, around a financial contribution of some sort. Nothing else will really mean anything to them.
Okay. So the board may not know, but I did produce a letter of intent for your last application to CMHC,
Right.
which was in the order of 100 grand a year. This was around not a board commitment, but looking at the community works funds that we get for Denman Island. So this is something that would be just for REA and residents of Denman. And I think that the letter was worded in a way that said that I would definitely sponsor that into our next financial plan, right? So we can probably get to something similar. So was that letters, do you think that letter you got something similar would be useful to show intent?
It would certainly be useful, yeah. Whether it be enough is another question.
Right.
It would be useful.
So I don't know if staff has any guidance on that, knowing that the call is next month, but I don't know if we've worked on any of this or.
Thanks for the question and thanks for the presentation. Jake Martins has been having some conversation with Housing Society, and so there's been some dialogue back and forth. As is typical, the board would consider asking staff for a report, some analysis on this kind of a request. And I think that given the board's focus around the housing authority and the interest in advancing that work, we haven't given much consideration to sponsoring individual projects in the meantime. I think the board's been really clear on what the intent there is to get the foundation in place for the housing authority. That said, yeah, given Jake's conversations with the Housing Society, I'm not sure if Jake, you'd want to add anything to this, but certainly we would look for direction from the board to consider some sort of a report back that may look at options here. A letter of intent to investigate or to look during financial planning may or may not be helpful to an application like this. I think that's what you were alluding to. It may not be worth too much to the funders, but it could be something. So Jake, in your discussions with the society, with Dave and the society, anything further to consider?
Thanks, James. Yeah, so at the discretion of the board, if you do pass a resolution to direct staff to come back, we would look to do that before the deadline of this application, ideally, of course, to time that with that. And then it would be at the board's discretion in terms of whether you would wish to make some sort of equity contribution to this project or capital grant for that matter. We do have reserve funds within the service, so we could provide some cursory analysis that may assist the board in making a decision in that regard.
All right, thanks, Jake. Did you have a further?
No, that's great. Thanks to staff. I would definitely bring that back. So this would need to go in a resolution under new business today, and I believe we still have one meeting next month. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's two meetings in July 15th and July 29th,
Okay, great.
probably. So is the deadline for applications end of July? Yeah, so gets pretty close. So a resolution today would give staff direction
To investigate.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll pass it to the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Those are helpful questions, clarifying. Thanks, Jake. And I'll go next to Director Brown.
As I understand, it's a rolling intake. So this is the first intake for this fund. And I presume that we're all trying to get into this first intake because that's our best chance. But there is do you know when the second intake is if we don't make this one? And would you go ahead without commitment from CVRD to the July 30th deadline, or would you wait? Would you be willing to wait for us to sort it out? What I understand about the second intake is that as soon as this first one closes at the end of July, the next one opens. That's what I have read. Okay. Subject to change, of course, with the final intake being early 2026. So they really do seem to me rolling. I think our intention is to proceed with this application if we possibly can. And we'll just keep going. Yeah.
All right, thanks. Now, first I wanted to say that James was reminding me that we don't have to wait until new business to put forward a motion. So if you want to give that some thought, and I'm going to just ask a question. I was curious, when your slide about the Lookout Society spoke of a project on Denman Island that had gone ahead. And I would, sorry, Denman Island, I'm Bowen Island, my apologies, wrong island.
Right.
And I would assume they would face many of the same rural challenges, like the need to be on ferries, the need to wells, similar things similar to that, wastewater services. I'm wondering how they managed to get BC Housing to support it. Was there a comparable contribution by, I guess, it'd be Metro Vancouver? Just wondering how they got it across the goal line.
Yeah, I don't think we know the details of their financial submission. But I also think they don't have all the rural costs that we have. They're, to a certain extent, their community has better infrastructure than Denman Island does.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure they don't have quite the exact same scale of rural costs, but it might be a useful conversation if someone's managed to take a rural island project and get it over the goal line at BC Housing to find out if there's any particular approach that they took that could be of assistance.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you heard Ravi Kalan was interviewed on CBC just after I was on, actually, last week.
Can you speak up a tiny bit?
Pardon me?
Could you speak up a little bit?
Okay, I'll move this up.
Thank you.
But he talked about 2 island projects that had received funding, but they weren't through the typical application process. They were special projects that they ended up either dumping more money into, or they just did a year-end transfer from the province, which happens from occasion to occasion. Here's $9 million, go ahead and build. So there actually have not been very many island projects that have been successful, other than the CRD project, where there was a significant contribution.
Again, it might be worth just having a conversation with them to find out how they managed to get that support from Minister Kalan and kind of walk between the raindrops and make it happen.
So I have some of that information about Bowen Island and have, I have access to some of that and been looking at it.
Great. And Director Harper, do you want to make a motion? Oh, sorry, we're still on receipt. Can we dispense with receipt? Anyone opposed to receipt? That carries. Okay, one more question. We'll go to Director Hardy and then make the motion. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And maybe just seeking some answers from staff regarding, I know there are some other issues on Denman Island with regards to water infrastructure a couple of years ago where significant dollars were going to have to be directed towards infrastructure for water over on Denman. I'm just kind of wondering, when we start looking at these growing community funds and other funds from the CVRD, if those have been earmarked for that infrastructure and we have to be concerned about that, or are those 2 totally separate projects and can have different funding pots from the community grants funds or whatever being directed towards 2 different projects at the same time or not?
I think if you're referring to the Graham Lake water system, which, that is one of the CVRD services, and there is substantial financial pressures on that particular system, given its current infrastructure and investments needed. From a geography perspective, I do not think that Graham Lake overlaps with this location. No, not at all. So there's a difference there in terms of geography. And I would have to refresh on the Growing Communities funds and where those commitments have been made over the time. We've had several reports on that. I'd have to refresh on that.
Great, thanks. And go to Director Harper.
Can I comment on that before I make my motion, or did we move receipt already?
We're done with
We're still on
receipt. You're welcome to
Yeah, just a quick
respond
comment that
for clarity.
I mean, it's interesting that okay, so actually I'll spare, because I'm getting done in the weeds. So I would just like to once receipt is done, I'm just wondering if this is the kind of motion that would work for staff, which would be to move that staff work with Denman Green, the Denman Community Housing Society, to identify which kind of letter of support and potential financial consideration CVRD could give to the project in support of their application to BC Housing. Would that be general enough, or would staff want something more specific?
Yeah, that would certainly be general enough. The main decision, I think, before the board will be whether you're willing to make a financial contribution to this project, and if so, then to what level as well. So the letter of support would simply be an outcome, in my mind, of that potential decision by the board.
Okay, great. So I think Lisa has the wording, so we'll just dispense with receipt and then it can be moved. Anyone opposed to receipt? That carries. And Director Robert, do you wish to move the motion which you previously stated?
Yeah.
Okay, that's being moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? And that carries. All right, so stay tuned. It's not our practice usually to make a motion on the evening of a delegation, but we're trying to work with your tight timeline to see if we
Appreciate
can
it.
assist. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, so we're moving on. So minutes from the June 9th. Okay, BCOB. All right, moved and seconded. Anyone opposed? That carries. ESC minutes from June 9th. Would someone like to second it? We're used to Director Grant doing this automatically and making sure we don't fall behind. All right, anyone opposed to receipt? And that carries as a recommendation. Okay, moved and seconded. Thank you. This is a vote of the areas. Anyone opposed? And that carries. Recommendation 2. Move receipt. Anyone opposed to receipt? Thank you. And that carries. And is there a second vote there, Lisa? Okay. Right, okay, so the recommendation, thank you. And this is also a vote of A, B, and C, if someone can move it, thank you. Okay, perfect, vote of the areas, anyone opposed? And that carries. We're just gonna keep receiving minutes. The Sewage Commission minutes from June 10th. Thank you, and moved and seconded. Any comments? Anyone opposed? Carries. Water Committee from June 10th. Thank you, great team there. And any questions? Anyone opposed? And that carries. And the long-term borrowing security issue for the city of Courtenay for receipt. Thank you. Any questions on that? And Director Grieve.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I guess I understand we're doing first, second, third, and final adoption all in one big.
Actually, Mr. Chair, Kelly Broughton's our manager of financial planning, and Kelly's able to introduce this report on the long-term borrowing SI bylaw, which may answer your question, Director Grieve.
Yeah, I just have reservations about all 4 at once. It came back to bite me once.
Kelly.
I can start with the plan for today was just for the first 3 readings and adoption on July 14th if it was approved. Okay, thank you through the CAO to the chair. Staff are here to present bylaw number 876, Comox Valley Security Issuing Bylaw to allow for participation in the fall 2025 Municipal Finance Authority long-term debt debenture. Within the province of BC, MFA is a financial institution established to provide financing for local government infrastructure through low cost and reliable borrowing solutions and other financial products. MFA is independent of the province and operates under the governance of a board comprised of members from the 27 regional districts in BC. Under the Local Government Act, Section 410, and the Community Charter, Part 6, Division 3, Section 182, For a municipality to participate in a MFA long-term debt issue, the regional district must undertake the borrowing on their behalf. The city of Courtney wishes to participate in this issue for a total of 4.676 million for funding 2 capital projects for a term of 20 years. 2.176 million is for strategic land acquisition, including easements, right-of-way, and licenses. And 2.5 million is for sewer infrastructure, capital acquisitions, which could include land acquisitions as well. As the regional district undertakes the borrowing and all members of the regional district become liable for the debt repayment, if the member municipality were to default, the regional district board of directors must consent to the participation in the debt issue. The city of Courtney has completed all the necessary steps required under current legislation to participate in the fall issue. Therefore, staff are requesting that the board adopt the security issuing bylaw to facilitate the long-term borrowing. Thank you, and staff are available for the questions.
All right, thanks for that, Kelly. Any questions on that? And this is Director Grieve, your question stands. Did you want to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just through the staff, obviously Courtney has vetted this and they want to go ahead with it. But my understanding is these are new powers that we got through COVID, correct? Where we can do all 4 in one go. Was it not up to that point we had to wait a meeting before final adoption?
So, Mr. Chair, the recommendation is that bylaw 876 be given all 4 readings. Today, we're only recommending in the bylaws section that this bylaw be given 3 readings, and then final adoption would come on July 15th. More generally speaking, the regional districts have always had the ability to give all 4 readings in the same meeting, with the exception of a couple of bylaws that would either need inspector approval or some other means. And it is a general practice to try to separate third and final, which we've always tried to do. But in some cases, it is important to, it's important to consider third and final in the same night. But that is not what we're doing for this particular bylaw.
Thanks.
So I think we're still on receipt. Anyone opposed to receipt? Carries. Anyone want to move the recommendation? Right, thank you. Any comments on the recommendation? Anyone opposed? And that carries. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate your time. Moving into first, second, and third readings, the Comox Valley Sewerage Service Development Cost Charges Bylaw, Amendment number 1. Okay, and this is a vote of Courtney and Comox and Area A. So anyone opposed? What?
Why do I get a vote? Sorry.
So this vote falls under the Sewer Commission Service, and Area A is a participant as of how long ago? 1.5 years ago?
Okay, I think it's my first vote though, so I'm excited.
We'll mark this moment.
Okay, this thrilling moment. So here we go. Anyone opposed? All right, and that carries. Third reading. So, any questions? Anyone opposed? That carries. Next, CVRD District Security Issuing Bylaw. First and second readings concurrently. Thank you. Any questions? Anyone opposed? That passes first and second. Now for third reading. Anyone opposed? And that carries. And that's the end of our business. We'll move back into camera and resume the meeting. Director Jolicoeur, I think you should have the link for that. Oh, okay. You can just stay on the line apparently. All right. Thanks, everyone.